overview of what edTPA is, and I'm going to do the best job that I can explaining it to you. edTPA is a performance-based assessment. Okay, so you've been at Liberty for 3.5 years. Some of you MATs, I see at least one MAT, and I'm so proud of you. I will not call you out, but for coming, because you don't have to be here, and that's awesome that you're here. But edTPA proves what we've been doing for 4 years in these walls on the other side of this hallway has worked. Okay, there is an outside organization, Pearson, that is going to evaluate you as you put all the pieces together, your lesson plans, your video clips, your reflections, we call it commentaries, and they're going to say, Hannah is received this credential. She is edTPA certified, so if she goes to one of these states that are in red, where our policy is already in place, for example, California, where my sister lives, that it's required, she will have that credential. So it proves that what you've been doing this whole program worked. You got it. Okay? It's not anything new that you need to learn. It's putting all that you've learned together in a portfolio, a performance-based portfolio. Does that make sense right off the bat? So it's specific to your endorsement area. So if you don't know if you're elementary, special education, or secondary, that's problem one. Because there's a handbook specific to your endorsement area. And if you haven't looked at it yet, they conveniently put it in your live text account, which I'll show you in a little bit, hopefully. So the handbook is there. I'm sure on your first snow day, you're going to get out of bed, 5, 6 a.m., sit down, and crack open that handbook. Because that handbook is where everything is that you need to know about your particular endorsement area. So these are the states. Now notice Virginia, the lovely state of Virginia. I'm from New York. It's required in New York. But I currently live in Virginia, so it's not in the state. But if you look at this, you can see how many of the gray are already taking steps toward implementation. It's almost every state. Okay, Virginia's going to probably hold on as long as they can, likely. But for those of you that are deciding whether you should do it or not, now when I say do it, I mean we're all going to do the work. It just matters who you send your work to. Are you going to send it to me, your supervisor, or are you going to send it to me and then Pearson? So everyone's going to do the same work. Okay, whether you're edTPA credentialed or not, you all do the same work. There's a lot of miscommunication about that. So there's no exemptions. Oh, I'm from Virginia, I don't need to do it. You need to do exactly what a person from California does. You're just not going to pay $300 and push send to Pearson. Does that make sense? Okay. And if you already know this, I'm sorry. I'm trying to break it down as simple as possible, so there's no miscommunications. So we use more than 600 teacher preparation programs. And the last I heard, I believe from Dr. Ackerman, was we were one of the first, or the only, in the state of Virginia that has adopted it formally. So that means every student teacher, grad, undergrad, local, external, every single one is required to do it. Now, part of my job as a coordinator of student teaching, I deal with student teachers that have issues, maybe professionalism or commitment. There are some that are like, I don't want to do it. Well, then you don't get licensed through Liberty University because we've adopted it for all of our programs, okay? So it's not like an optional, when you put the intention form, whether you want to do it or not, that doesn't mean that you don't have to go through this whole process. It just means you save $300 and you don't get this credential. Okay. Sorry, I get a lot of emails about that, so I went over and over. Yes.
So should we buy it when we submit it, or like now, or in between?
Let me think about that one because I haven't had anyone who's bought it before. But we're going to go to the edTPA site, and they might have always purchased it when they submit it. But, yeah, I think that, okay. But I'll just double check that because that's a good question. So there's the map, yada, yada. So that's what it is. So edTPA, you're going to submit lesson plans that you've been doing your whole career. 4 or 5 years that you've been here, your master's at lesson planning. So don't let that stress you out. Teaching artifacts, so you'll include some assessment pieces, videos of your teaching. You want to know the great thing about that? They can't be more than 10 minutes, the 2 video clips, okay? So it's not like 20 minutes is not a big deal. You're going to pick your best 10 minutes of this, your best 10 minutes of that. You can do that, all right? And then the student work samples is another element. The reflections, which they call commentaries, are huge. So let's say in your video clip there was something that didn't go exactly the way you wanted it to. Write about that, reflect about that in your commentaries. That's essential to make sure they know that you saw where this went off course with this one student, but you were able to get it back on track. None of us are perfect. Yes?
And in those videos, like, it doesn't matter if they see the students, right? Or,
well, Did your school not allow you to videotape the students? We're going to talk about the form for videotaping, but they're going to have to see you interacting with the students to answer your question. Okay, so I don't know what angle you're going to have the camera on, but they'll need to see that teacher-student interaction. Good questions. Then there's the narrative explanations we'll talk about later. Okay, what are you going to do? You're a student-teacher candidate. All you're thinking about is May, right? Yes? Do you know the royal wedding is during commencement? Do you think we can change that, or are we all going to be watching secretly underneath our seats? You don't care about the royal wedding? Okay. So you're all thinking about that day, commencement, I know. But between now and then, the first thing you need to do is let us know whether you intend to submit just to your professor or to your professor and then Pearson. So there's a little form called intention form. If your supervisor didn't tell you about it, I'm telling you about it now. And it's in live text. And you need to check a box, yes or no, and upload it in there, okay? It should take you just a matter of minutes to do that. And then, when is it due? March 18th. So about the midpoint of the semester, which is actually a really good thing. Last semester, we piloted this for the first time, and we gave them till the end of the semester. But guess what happens then? If you're submitting to us and then to Pearson, and they give you feedback, they want you're allowed to resubmit a part that you made a mistake, they allow you to resubmit a part, you don't have students. If it's the end of the semester, you've graduated, you're long gone, you're making $40,000 teaching in South Carolina. Where are you going to find these students to redo this activity? It's not the same group of students, it's not the same standards, all right? That's a big deal. So now, we have it in the middle of the semester, which I believe is the way they're going to do it from now on. So if something comes back in April, you get dinged on a section, you have time to fix it before you graduate, which is awesome. Okay, so remember that when you're feeling the pressure. Yes, sir?
And so all of the edTPA requirements are due?
On March 18th, and it's actually all the requirements are listed in tasks, and I'll show you the tasks in just a minute. Okay, so that sums that up. The intention form done, and then the due date. Okay, getting started. So, and feel free, Dr. Penn, to interject if I go off course, because I tend to do that. This is the template that Dr. Klamm prefaced my discussion about. So last semester we used a longer template. But what happens is edTPA is crazy about details. Are you an A-type person? You'll love it, okay? I'm not, as you know, because most of you had me as a professor. I can roll with just about anything and make the most of it. But you can't roll with a submission portal that only allows 4 pages of plans, and you have all these plans. So we abbreviated the template, so when you go to upload it into the little portals and live text, it fits better. Because last semester, some of our student teachers were trying to compress it to make it fit better, and we're like, enough of that. We have made an abbreviated form that allows you to upload it easier. So that's the purpose, in case anyone was wondering. But you still go through the normal thought process that you would with the longer, detailed plans. So this is the template. All of your supervisors were given a copy the first week of student teaching, and if you can't access it from him or her, it is also in the handbook. Okay? So the handbook is available to you 24/7, and last I checked, it was on page 39. Is it still? Yes, I am on fire today. I'm just trying to get out of here faster to see my voice. So page 39 is where you can find it and download it and fill it in for your professor. Don't forget, plans are due every Friday prior to when they're taught. So if you're going to teach next week, all of your plans need to be to him or her this Friday for next week. Okay, that's very important that you get the plans ahead of time. Okay? Everyone knows that? Unless your supervisor said you can have until Sunday or something, then listen to him or her. But mine always have it in Friday prior. Okay, important reminder. So this is the handbook. I took a lovely screenshot of what it looks like for elementary because my candidates will be following the elementary handbook. And we expect our student teachers, that's you, to look through all the documents in this. And I'll show you where it is in live text. So find your particular handbook, which should be uploaded for you. If you're secondary, you should have the secondary handbook already up there, ready to go. And that's what it looks like. Okay, here's a good question. I think this gentleman asked about the tasks. So, if you are a special education candidate or a secondary candidate, you have 3 tasks. My favorite number. Okay, 3. If you elementary candidate, you have an additional task related to mathematics, so you have 4 tasks. Okay? So everyone knows how many tasks you have, what edTPA is, what an intention form is. We're making progress. Great strides there. Okay, I wanted to show you what they look like. So the first task is related to lesson planning. The second one is related to engagement. I'm sorry, this screenshot looks terrible projected. The third one is related to assessment, and the fourth one is related to math if you are a elementary ed student teacher. Yes?
So if we're dual and we're especially in elementary, but we're doing a special education student teaching right now, do we need to add on that fourth one even though we're not doing elementary so we're certified in both?
I told Dr. Klamm this question was going to come. So what I have been told is that you need to do it in your special ed placement. But depending on what state you're going into, this could vary. So that's why they have your special ed placement first. How many of you are dual and your special ed placement is first? How many of you are dual and your special ed placement is the second one? Okay, so it's only 3. So they did a very good job. Okay, so I'll send some more information to your supervisors, but it should be done in your first placement. So the 3 of you that raised your hands, one of you is one of my students, so I can easily find you. I will make sure your professors get some information about that. But continue doing your planning like you would as if you were to submit it, okay? I just need to get clarification why your placements were flip-flopped. Yes, ma'am?
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
The second part of the question, so do we also need to do the mathematics portion to get the elementary as well?
Because you're dual endorsed and you're doing the special education at TPA, which would only be 3 tasks. No, ma'am. That's my final answer. But of course, I'll double check with Dr. Goodwin.
For the elementary portion,
Yeah.
because we have both,
Yeah.
will we not have the elementary add-on if we don't?
Can you do me a favor while I'm talking? Can you go in live text and see what handbook that live text is uploaded for you? Because that will answer my question. But I'm 95% sure it's a no. Yes, Chandler.
So we have to do for both, for elementary, for both, like for the literacy lesson and the math
We only
lesson.
have to do edTPA
Let's
once,
say a learning segment, like 3
so I just do it for special.
Yes.
We have to do that for both.
Yes. Good question. Did everyone hear that? If you were an elementary student teacher, you have to do a learning segment, which is what they used to call a unit 10 years ago, or forever, and for both subject areas, okay? Yes, that's correct, Chandler. That's 100%,
We
yes.
have to film one.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So that means in our syllabus when it says only 20,
Okay, in your syllabus for 475,
yes.
okay, that's a lesson plan, that's a unit that you'll upload in your student teacher handbook, I think you're referring to, where you do a bulletin board, you do a learning center. Yeah, this, for edTPA, it is 2 weeks of plans essentially, 1 week of math, 1 week of language arts. But you don't need to do all the additional like bulletin board learning centers per the course. One thing I want to say, guys, before we take questions, because I was going to let Dr. Klamm answer all the questions tonight. I was. But it's okay. I'm trying the best to cycle through them. Let's think smarter. Now, okay, how can we be most efficient? So we know we're going to be picking up whatever, decimals 2 weeks from now. Go ahead and target that. That's going to be my 5 detailed plans, because you know when you pick up a subject, they have to be the detailed plans, not the block. So make that your edTPA submission and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Make that your 5 detailed plans. Wait, does that make sense? So if you can do that strategically, if you don't want to have, if you're trying to cut corners with your lesson planning length, that would be it. That's what I would try to do. Okay. So pick up the subject and do the plans at the same time. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It cannot use, though, in your edTPA submission, it cannot be one that is already one of your original 5. Because the original 5, you will have been evaluated on those, and the one that you send to edTPA cannot be one that you have received feedback on, meaning that the teacher evaluated, said it was good to go, because that's what Pearson's going to do.
And I have a slide about that at the end where anything you know is going to go to edTPA, tell your cooperating teacher and your university professor, I'm planning to send these to edTPA. they won't give you any specific feedback. So I told the supervisors that, but if you could remind them of the week that you know those plans, let's say you're doubling up and you're doing decimals, the first 5 plans are going to be your edTPA plans, just make sure everyone knows because they cannot give you any feedback. And I'll talk about that later in my presentation. Yes?
But what if we're not submitting to edTPA?
If you're not submitting to edTPA, those 5 plans, they can give you all the feedback their heart desires. That's fabulous. Yes. Yes.
So that means, so you're saying make sure a teacher doesn't give us feedback so we don't have to do 10 extra lesson plans?
Okay, I'll get to that at the end. I think you guys are getting a little confused. Any plan, not you. I just mean the conversation's getting off course. Anything that you're going to submit to Pearson that's edTPA related cannot be evaluated by an instructor, a cooperating teacher, anything like that. Okay, and I'll get to that later in my presentation. So, if you're going to use your 5 plans for math also for edTPA, you're just going to need to let everyone know you can't get feedback on them. Does that make sense? Now, I made a video for the cooperating teachers and told them this, and I don't know if they've watched it or not, last year. And so that should have been something they've been able to access. And the supervisors know that as well, but they need a reminder. So, for example, one of my student teachers, let's say Catherine sends me 5 plans, and I won't know unless she indicates to me that she's planning to send those to Pearson. So just make sure you remind them. Yeah.
The Friday before, like, approval, that's when counts feedback, right? Like,
You mean like signing a cover sheet that I've reviewed these plans?
yeah, like, what if, so I'm planning to teach a segment on, like, Olympics or language arts. What if I want to use those 5 for edTPA, and she, like, reviews it, and it's like, oh, well, why don't you not, like, just for the week so it goes smoothly or something, she knows the kids more. What if she, like, made a comment about something?
You'll have to be at a point where you're self-directed. You already know how to follow the template. You know what she wants for her classroom, and then you create those plans. There can't be any specific detailed feedback about them. Like, I think you should move this down later, or move this one up, or omit this. That's all illegal.
But the approval is not. Like, for the Friday before.
She can say, I approve them, you can teach them on Monday, you're good to go, Danny, but she can't give you any specific feedback because you're going to insert those plans and eventually send them on. Good questions. Wow. I hope I've answered them all.
So just
Yes,
to
yes,
clarify.
add on.
Okay, just to clarify. Right out of the gate, right now, you're doing 5 detailed lesson plans, right?
Mhm.
Okay, that doesn't have you're using the edTPA format as a practice, but these are not edTPA lessons. Later on, you're going to say, I want to develop an edTPA lesson that I'm going to video, and I'm going to have artifacts with it. It's its own entity, so it becomes a separate piece. So your first 5 lesson plans that you're doing right now, you're getting feedback on, is the lesson plan a good one? What else needs to be done with it? That kind of stuff. That's all cool. What you'll do later then is you're going to develop your edTPA lesson plan and develop your video for it and all the pieces that they're asking for. But you can't submit any of that to your OU supervisor or your cooperating teacher to get input on it before you submit it. All the practicing is going on now, and then later you're going to do one all by yourself, and you're going to launch it without any input. See the difference between the two?
So in summary, you will likely submit your first detailed plans next week, and
Right.
you will likely not be ready for edTPA next week.
Right.
Okay, Chandler.
Mine's gonna be later because I don't
Yeah.
want to take over late.
Yes.
But so it's gonna work for
Yeah.
both. Can our learning segment for like my language arts, my learning segment for edTPA, since I'm not submitting it, be the same as my unit for student teaching?
Yes. And I already told your supervisors that. But for your supervisor here, she's going to require you to do a bulletin board, a learning center, all that stuff, and that's not part of the edTPA. You'll have to do a few
I
extensions.
can add the unit, but I can use the unit.
Yeah.
to finish that.
Yes, and I always recommend that my own personal student teachers do that. Yes.
Okay, so I'm thinking of math
Yes.
next week.
do my detail plans, I say to my supervisor, don't give me feedback. I can submit those to.
You could, but you're probably not going to tape next week.
No, I'm not gonna. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to do more work.
Yeah. But it all has to be connected, like your lesson plans and your taping and your commentary. They all go together. It's a whole view of you.
So are you saying that if I don't take next week, then I would have to write another 5?
Yeah.
What we're saying is
Yeah.
you're going to do 5 lesson plans in each of your content areas for an assessment by your cooperating teacher approval and by your LU supervisor. You got to do that out of the gate. Don't even worry about edTPA on it. You can't save it. You can't say, I don't want you to do any evaluation of mine. You have to do 5 lesson plans for detail for evaluation. After you've cleared all that hurdle, okay, now then you look forward and you say, okay, I want to plan something that I'm going to teach and I'm in the future, a few weeks from later, and I want to submit that one to edTPA. It's a separate deal from the 5 detailed lesson plans, completely. Okay?
What do you do? Like, if you're only there for 8 weeks, sometimes, like,
Yeah, you're going to do it soon.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is it bad if I start videoing this?
I would wait to video. Like, I can tell you last semester, my own personal student teachers, I had 4, they taped in like week 13 or something out of 16 or out of 15, and they still were like, I felt like I could have had more practice before I taped. So you're not going to want to tape right away. You're going to want to really get acclimated with the students because they're going to need to see interaction between you and the students in the taping. You're going to need to know the room well, know the concepts you're teaching well, and that takes a little bit of time.
Plus, the lesson plan that you are submitting is the one you're taping, right?
Yes.
So you can't just start taping students
Yes.
while you're just teaching anything,
Yeah.
and then later submit a lesson plan
Yeah, it's all connected.
as an independent entity.
Yeah.
The lesson plan that you're sending to edTPA is the same one you video.
Yes.
So there's not really way to kill 2 birds.
No, there's not.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's too confusing to explain. So just start writing your detail plans next week, and you'll be in good shape to tape in about 2 weeks down the road. And I'm going to go over what you when we finish the presentation. Actually, if you can hold your questions, because a lot of your questions I haven't gotten to yet, and it's getting us a bit off course. So if you don't mind. So your supervisor is going to do one thing when you submit it in live text. He or she is going to do something called a technical review. Okay? So they have a rubric. Your supervisor has a rubric embedded in live text. I think you can see it. Can you see it? Okay. And you are going to first do a check with the rubric before you send it to me. Because I do not want to be reading Emily's submission unless Emily's gone through her rubric and made sure everything is there. And I'm going to go through and see, are the video clips sideways or are they upright? Is the font the appropriate font? It's very technical. It's nothing about what you've chosen or what you've written. It's just technical review. And then I'm going to send it back to you with the rubric filled out. So before you spend $300, you'll know if your video clip was sideways. Isn't that great? So that's what we call a technical review. That happens after you submit it. So you submit it the 18th, your supervisor should review it by the 25th, approximately, 23rd-ish. This is what it looks like. So you're going to have sent to instructor only or send to edTPA.com. So everyone in the room will first send to instructor only, and then later you can go back and send to edTPA. All right? I want to give you a screenshot of that. Okay, this is what you were going off on these beautiful tangents earlier. What is acceptable and what is not? It is acceptable for your cooperating teacher to examine them while are supporting rubrics and to give you anything that you can view in the handbook. They can tell you, I want you to take on magnets in week 4. I think that would be a great lesson for you to plan and tape, etc. They can provide a schedule. I think in week 4, you should start taping in the morning before the kids are crazy after lunch. They could arrange for the computer lab or the tech support of the school to provide some tech support if you need it during the taping. And that's pretty much all he or she is allowed to do. Okay? So you need to have, I'd always say, a backup plan for your video. And we often run out of space on devices and stuff, so make sure you have a plan and a backup plan. What can they not do for you? They can't edit any of your lesson plans, any of your drafts. They can't offer critique. They can't tell you which clip. They can't tell you which work sample. They can't upload anything. They can't, of course, put anything on social media websites or anything like that. So that kind of gives you an idea of what their role is and what they are legally allowed to do to support you. So you feel like you have support, but you also understand their role better, too. So video recording, someone asked about this as well. Student teachers are expected to tape. So you need to follow your school's videotaping policy. So in the Student Teaching Handbook, we have a videotaping release form that you can use. I know some schools I worked with last semester, they had their own form that they preferred our student teachers use. Some people did both forms. You need to check with your cooperating teacher. The administration most certainly in 2018 has a policy on this. And they will tell you exactly which way, but the recording form is in the handbook. And I would, if you want to know what you should do right away, like, Professor Spalding, what should I do today? If you haven't done the intention form, do the intention form. And then I would go ahead and get the video recording permission slip sent home as soon as you can. Because you know why? Those precious darlings take forever to get those things back in sometimes. And we don't want everything to be set up. Oh, in week 4, you're good to go. You got your lesson plans done, the camera's ready, and you don't have all your video releases in. And your teacher's trying to move kids out of the room into another room, and it's very hectic. So plan ahead with the videotape release. Yes, ma'am.
In my placement, I don't think most of my students will bring it back.
Okay, work with your cooperating teacher and ask him or her what is the best strategy for getting them back. I know we've had one student teacher did some incentive if the whole class got it back in. I don't know, they brought a treat for them or something. Ask your cooperating teacher what is the best strategy.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
My school already has a policy, like everyone's already, they already know who can get what who can't. Do I still need to send the release to
Yes, because they don't have a release from Liberty University. They most likely. If you haven't sent anything home, then they will need it. They will need to know that their student is going to be participating in this, and it's for our university. Anything else about this? I hope I can.
Did that question?
Yes.
On that LCA does have that with Liberty. So
Again, I would ask your cooperating teacher, show her the release form in the handbook, and ask her what steps you need to take to ensure that they've met all the criteria for taping. Because it's going to vary in your school system. Anyone else? Okay? Okay, final thoughts. And then I'm going to show you live text, and then Dr. Klamm's going to answer all your questions for the next 14 weeks. Decide what learning segment with your cooperating teacher that you might want to submit to edTPA. Now, he or she likely sat down with you and mapped out the 7 weeks or the 15 and a half weeks or whatever you got there with, okay, I want you to pick up this now, I want you to pick up this now. If not, he or she needs to get going because you need to have a big picture plan. So respectfully, just ask them if they have any idea. They most likely have a pacing guide for their school. It's 2018. I had one 8 years ago in my school. So they likely have a pacing guide where they know 2 weeks from now what they're required to be teaching. If it's private school, that could vary a bit, but they still likely have a plan in place. So ask them what subjects you want to take on and release. Is there anyone in the room that would like, with a raised hand, to know how you're supposed to pick up subjects and let them go? Does everyone understand that? Thank you, Lord. That's always so okay. Good. So you're going to be teaching 4 weeks of everything if you have 1 placement, and 2 weeks of everything if you have 2 placements. And that will be a great time during your full-time teaching weeks to do this, because you're in charge of everything that week. So I would ask him or her what they would like you, if they have a preference. They're going to need to know when you're taping. You know how schools are. We've got assemblies, fire drills, eye screenings, everything every day that constantly interrupts your schedule, right? That's why teachers need to be the most flexible people on the universe, okay? Because you need to be able to roll with it. When something gets interrupted, you do your best and you get back on track as soon as you can. And so as a result, they might know on their master calendar, this is not a good day. We've got pictures in the morning and assembly in the afternoon. Not a good day. So be on the lookout for that. Yes, ma'am.
On the lesson plan, there's a section for subject, and then there's a section for learning segment. And well, it's subject and topic. So what's the difference between? So if you're teaching like a lesson on like the levels of government, like so it's social studies and civics and government, like what's in each box?
Okay, so the subject would be social studies. The learning segment would be branches of government. What was the next question?
In topic.
Okay, topic would be the role of the legislature and yada yada, whatever
Okay.
your focus is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm from California. I don't plan on moving back.
Okay.
This doesn't year, right now. So I didn't plan on doing it. And is there a time, like, is there a certain time that you can go back and get it done, or just later, like if you move to a state, they'll just have to do it?
I know one reason why you submit it to us and we do a technical review and don't give you feedback is in the event that you were to change your mind. I do not have clarification. That would have to come from Dr. Goodwin as far as what that time limit will be. But I will like to tell you this: you plan on staying in Virginia? Okay. If I had the $300+ would definitely do it because I'm from New York and yada yada. But all the other teachers in your school where you get hired that don't have the edTPA credential are going to have to gain it at some point. So let's say you get hired, 3 years down the road they require it, you're all going to be in the same boat, you and all of your colleagues. You know what I'm saying? So remember that, and then I will see if we can get clarification from the deans as far as how long you can have before you push submit. I do not have an exact time frame, I'm sorry. Anyone else? Good questions. I knew you'd bring them. That's why I was praying all the way down to 460. Yeah.
So we looked, and it is, we do have this federal education handbooks.
Yes. Perfect. No task force.
Okay, so will we get the certification for edTPA elementary or just special education?
If you're dual endorsed, they always default to the special ed endorsement. But certain states have a preference in which you go, special ed or elementary, when you submit. It has been my understanding that the majority of them are always preferring the special ed endorsement. But that's the question earlier that I need to get clarification on because there's a couple of you that don't even have your placement first that you would need it in. So you'd be getting the credential with the dual endorsements. It's kind of confusing, and there are certain states that don't play nice with that credential either. What state are you planning on teaching in? That's the bottom line.
That's been a whole bunch.
Okay, so what I would really encourage you to do, I'm going to show you the website really quick because Dr. Sam is really important to talk for you tonight, but go through and look at your state and see what has your state been doing with edTPA, what are the credentials, because that's really going to be the bottom line of your situation, I think. Chandler, do you have a question?
So I just want to clarify.
Yes.
For the English or subject one, that's the one that we have to have 2 videos for. But the math one, as far as like what I see on the thing, is no video, which does.
I don't think there's any place to upload a video in the math. It's like a re-engagement lesson. Yes. Yes.
So for the English one,
Yes.
let's say,
Yes. The language one.
the language arts one, the 2 videos, do they want that as the same lesson or different lessons in the same class?
It's the same lesson.
It is. I'll open it up or else it'll spell out the directions exactly better than I could. I know it's a minimum of 3 minutes per video, a maximum of 20 minutes for both videos. But I'll have to look on the list to see exactly what it says. I believe so, but I would rather you open up the handbook and look, and I'll show you where it is just to be sure. Because I've never taped.
The handbook is going to tell you what you're wanting to show
Yes.
the viewer.
Yes, exactly.
Okay? Because it's not like you're just going to shoot the you teaching,
Yeah.
and you hope you hit something.
It's
It's going to tell you
exactly.
that in your visual here, they have your written copy of your lesson, and then they have the visual that they're going to verify that what they wanted to see of you teaching like, you will have demonstrated that. And so you may be able to get that early in the lesson, and then maybe you have to come back later in the lesson and hit the next component, so that you don't have to video the whole lesson.
Yes.
You just hit the pieces they want.
And they spell out exactly what they want. I mean, they are so detailed.
Because if you don't give it to them the way they want it,
Yeah.
you get it sent back.
Yeah. So I'll show you where that is, Chandler, and everyone else, so you can actually read the directions on your own time, because they're lengthy. One more thought. In your weekly journals that you submit to your supervisor, I have mine submit that every Sunday night. In those journals, start reflecting, because on the commentary sections, which are part of your tasks, you're really going to have to reflect about your teaching. And we know script, the R, reflective practice, you've been doing that for a long time now. That's an integral part of this assessment piece. Lastly, smile, because you have a chance to formally demonstrate all that you can do and all that you can perform in the classroom after all of your time on that side of the hallway, listening to lectures and learning. So it's a really exciting opportunity for you. I'm going to pull up the edTPA website. Raise your hand if you've already been there. See, this is exactly the problem, dear students. So I have been to this website so many times, and there are still things I have to look up. Everything is right here. Let me try to zoom in a bit. Can you see? So if you go to edTPA, you can find there's all these frequently asked questions, who's leading it, who's participating in it, what teacher prep programs, what subjects are required. And then if you go to the tabs on this side, which I don't think they're appearing over here, there's additional resources about edTPA, whether you are a candidate, which is what you are, a faculty member, a university. But I would go through the frequently asked questions. I read through all of these last year with my student teachers because we were piloting this and we were learning together. There's so much on here. I saw a gentleman back there had a question, and I'm going to open up live text. Go ahead.
When you're opening up live text, could you possibly show us where that small template would be for writing the lesson? Because you said there's a abbreviated template that we should be using. Can you show us where that is?
I sure will. That's in the handbook, so I'm going to have to pull up the handbook. Don't let me forget. So let's see. We're going to go to... Let me just undo this just to make sure no student names pop up. Anyone who's had me in class knows how I am so strange about that. Okay, so I'm in here into the assignment details, and now I know no students will pop up. And this is an elementary candidate. So if you go under, I think it's 4 on your list. It says like elementary edTPA tasks or something like that. You're going to, edTPA assignments, what it says. You're going to scroll down, and right here it's going to tell you the template. And then if you keep scrolling, you can open up the template. And our amazing live text director, Miss Rachel McCormick, has my elementary handbook right here that I can peruse through. It's harder to find it on your own, so I would just use it through live text. And all of the templates that I will need for this semester, she has included here, that are related to the tasks. Okay? So all the templates. So let's go ahead and open this up really quick. Dr. Klamm, I'm hurrying up. Sorry. These questions set me back a few minutes here. And I'm going to go to the very beginning. So let me zoom in here. Sorry, wrong way. So my student teachers that are elementary will have these tasks right here. What do I need to think about? Page 12. You're going to want to read page 12, page 15, page 17, page 18, which is the rubric for that task. So in your handbook, secondary and sped, it's 3 tasks again. You're going to want to look at these 3 tonight. Why not tonight, okay? If not tonight, this week. And you're going to want to peruse through those pages because it's very specific. I'm not going to open up elementary and read that to them because it's going to be different for some of you. So go ahead and read through the tasks so you know what we're looking for. All of the templates that you need to complete the tasks are where I just showed you. Everything's there. The live text director, Rachel McCormick, is amazing. And she has it all there in one spot for you. Okay? But it's just knowing how to get there, really. The rest of the handbook, I'll let you look through that on your own time. But it goes into great detail. Your overview, what you need in your videos, what to do, what not to do, and very detailed lists, as you can see. But the best thing to do is to go to this front page of your handbook, no matter what your endorsement is, look at the task, look at the page number, and go there. Okay? And you can go there very quickly, just to make sure you have everything done. Yeah.
Could you backtrack and show how through live text to get to that?
I sure can, because that's the tricky part. So, if you go to the main page of live text, you should have 4 tasks. The last one should be, are you secondary?
Yes, secondary.
The last one should say edTPA Secondary Education Assignment. You click on that, and then once you click on it, you scroll down. Did you see that there?
I'm not seeing it. Is anybody else secondary and have it on there? Because it might be just under a different name.
I know. I don't have any secondary candidates. Mine are all elementary. Is anyone else in live text that you can see your view? Because the student view might be different than mine.
edTPA resources, not an assignment.
Then,
There should be another one, though, an additional one.
Yeah, yes.
I will say, I got mine.
I know.
Our part of mine now.
The FEM?
Yes, I got that one. That part, there was a bunch of leads. And they used it on edTPA. And there was like a big
I'm
thing
going,
with
like,
all the
Really?
all the
Okay, so that's so different. So in my view, ladies and gentlemen, it says, it's the third one underneath the survey, and it says Elementary Education edTPA Assignment. I click on that, and then in there is where I can view all the documents. Do you not have that? No?
I have edTPA intentions course in, like, but it's
Dr. Klamm's going to see if he can get it from your view to see how to pull it up, because that's an important question.
What question? Pull up the edTPA documents in live text.
Which
I
one
know,
are
I
we
need
not
to look.
finding?
If you don't mind, when
you
Dr.
have
Klamm's
it.
getting started, if I can take a look at yours and just kind of play around with it.
I don't know how
Just
many
to
I
see if
have.
we can find
I
it,
think that
because
many.
that's going to impact other people, probably.
Are you finding those boxes?
That I do not have. The visual arts and videos on it.
No, I'm talking.
That's really weird. Well, we'll figure it out before you go home.
My thumb hit something somewhere I wanted to.
Yeah.
I told you I didn't mention
Like that? Yeah, those boxes.
I have boxes.
Okay. All right. And what one are you looking for?
I'm looking just to get to the NTPA handbook.
Okay, for secondary. But you have to do it by subject.
Yeah, so when I'm looking for it, saying,
You look at
You want to come get a soda with me because I think this is kind of. I'm gonna go.
Oh, you mean now?
Yep. Ah.
that's got all of it. This one over here, you can got
You don't have to come with me if you don't want. I don't think this is productive anyway.
Yeah. Well, it can, except this one. You open that up, and then there's all the handles.
So I found the elementary ones. There's like also
what is the
When showing that one.
What do you do with it?
So what is your subject area?
And so I found it. And so
Okay.
I found it, but it's different for. So mine says TESOL/English as an additional language NTPA assignment. Hers says visual arts.
That's
NTPA
right. They're
assignment.
all different. That's what you have to understand. Everybody has their own handbook based upon your subject area. There's not one handbook that covers all of them. There is a handbook for every subject area. That's why you have to go in to your subject area, open up your handbook,
It'll be very similar to everybody else's, but it will have specific language in it that pertains to what you do in your subject area. Okay? So that's why you have to know what you're doing and then find it according to what you are doing.
And were you guys able to discover where it was hiding?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And so do you want me to, so for the,
I'm sorry, I'm just going to write this web address on the board for the gentleman that asked about the handbook. I'm going to write the web address on the board so everyone can have it. Make sure you postmark it because I know I have to do the same. Any other questions before we move on to the exciting world of classroom management? Dr. Klamm volunteered to field all of this?
Yes.
I'm going to write this on the board if you need help.
so the focused lesson plans that you said we are now able to do, those are the lesson plans that we're going to be submitting to Pearson to edTPA, the large ones.
Right.
Other ones.
What you're going to do, let me review this one more time while I have verifying person here. Okay? Right now you're working on 5 lesson plans, detailed lesson plans for each subject area that you're teaching. All right? Those are practice lesson plans. You're practicing writing in the edTPA model. The old system, you wrote those 130-some pages, and then you got to the edTPA assignment. You had never practiced it, and you had to write a whole different way. Okay? And all you were given was, that's okay, you can figure it out.
Yeah.
All right? What we're doing now is we got rid of all that other stuff, and we are having you write using this one template. But understand that when you write with this one template, you are giving a certain snapshot of your lesson plan. All right? When it comes to submitting to edTPA, you will have a lesson plan, just like you've been practiced writing. Only it'll be a brand new one. Okay? And in addition to that lesson plan, you're going to have to complete a series of like 4 different commentary pieces that are reflective ideas or additional information that had to do with that one little lesson plan. So for edTPA, you give them a lesson plan, and then within your live text, you have commentary this, commentary that, commentary this, commentary that. Those will be additional commentaries that, in essence, make this edTPA lesson plan a big piece. Okay? But they only want, like, a short version here, and then they want a short addition piece here, and then they want another short addition piece over here, and they tell you how many pages, how many this and how many that in each commentary. So you're welcome to open up the lesson plan and get accustomed to using it. You're welcome to open up each of those commentaries to see what's ahead. But right now, you do not have to do any of those commentaries. That's just going to happen for that one time when you get ready to submit to Pearson or submit your edTPA to your LU supervisor. Okay? So that's where we get a lot of confusion. So a lot of the things that you've been accustomed to writing on the 6 to 8 page lesson plan, a lot of that stuff that no longer looks like it shows up will actually eventually show up in those commentary pieces. Okay? So what you have been doing forever will come back to play, but it's just packaged different. And that's the piece. That's all you've got to really understand. Is that right now we just want you to work on 5 of these basic lesson plans and get some feedback on them. Then, with that practice, later on, a few weeks down the road, you're going to say, here's a lesson I want to do, and it starts with that one lesson plan, and then you add the commentary pieces to it as you have taught it, or reflect back on it, and all of those comments, diversification is an example. You're going to have one commentary, it's just on diversification. All right? there's not much to write in the lesson plan, but you'll write a lot of stuff on diversification over there. So those additional commentaries become the embellishment of this whole big one lesson plan. Then you shoot a video of it and send it off. Okay? So I hope that helps. We were trying to avoid 52 emails on the same topic. And I said it's worth it to come in tonight and just kind of go through this and try to simplify it for you. We want you to get a big picture. We want to have a simplification, like here's how to make this happen. Okay?